I did it. I took the leap of faith. I moved out of my hometown, away from everyone I knew, everything I knew, and everything I've ever known. You see, I was born and raised in Perth, and just recently I've moved over to the Gold Coast. Now, most people, especially in this generation, don't understand why it is important to do that. So these are the reasons why I moved out of my hometown, away from everything and everyone I know and loved, over to the Gold Coast to start a new life. The number one reason is my environment. You see, your environment is probably the most slept on, but most important thing that can make or break your success. You see, your environment consists of many things, whether it's, you know, the people around you, family, friends, the activities you're around, even just the energy, right? And so all these things come together and make your environment. And that's what was happening to me was I was around people who didn't have the same vision as me. You know, I had friends that were great friends, but since they didn't have the same vision and didn't want to go to the same places I was going, the conversations got very mundane and very unimportant. And when you're surrounded by people who don't have the same vision and goals as you, it holds you back in a way that you feel stagnant. And that's what I was feeling like. I felt very stagnant because obviously one half of me was trying to chase my dreams, work hard, and do all these things. But then the other half was consumed by my environment where the conversations weren't how do we win, how do we make money, how do we become successful. They were irrelevant and unimportant conversations. And so it was keeping me stagnant from one, becoming who I need to be, growing, developing into the man I need to be. But two, is that I realized when you're stagnant, you're moving back. There's no such thing as being stagnant. And when I realized that, it was a bit of a shock to me, right? It's probably one of the most misled concepts is being stagnant. You can't be stagnant. You're either moving back or you're moving forward. And that really shocked me because I realized that I'm wasting so much time moving back because of my environment when I could just be moving forward. That also brings me into reason number two, and that is I couldn't become who I needed to be. I couldn't unlock my full potential by living the life I was living. And don't get me wrong, I was doing everything right, you know, I was working hard. I wasn't wasting time, I wasn't partying, I wasn't doing any of this stuff. You know, I was always working hard, learning and doing the best I could to become the version I saw in my head. And for me, for a very long time, I've had this vision of my future self very, very clearly. And for whatever reason, it felt like I was on a treadmill. No matter how hard I pushed to achieve that potential, I wasn't going anywhere. And it took a lot of self reflection and analyzing my life and what was happening to realize that I could not become who I needed to be where I was back in Perth. And that is the second reason I moved over to Gold Coast because um, I knew that moving away from everything I knew and everyone I knew, it was just me. I know no one here. I know nothing. I've never been here. And the good thing about that is simply that when you're by yourself, when you're lonely, when you experience this alone time, you really start to learn about yourself. You really start to unlock and become who you see in your head, right? And it's very important that you do that. So, reason number three. Now, this is a big one, and this kind of runs off the last two, is that you do not see any growth in your comfort zone. And like I was saying before, you know, I had to do a lot of self reflection and analysis on my life. And what I realized is that I was too comfortable. I was too comfortable at home, I was too comfortable in my work environment, my workspace, and all these things were holding me back from growing. You cannot grow in your comfort zone. And I know that everyone on the internet says it, and it's a very cliche thing to say, right? But it's true. You cannot grow in your comfort zone. And that's a big reason why I moved over, because I have this vision in my head of who I need to become and who I want to become, right? And all you have to do is reverse engineer that to unlock the steps on how to become that person. And one of those steps, which was the first step, is being uncomfortable, being out of your comfort zone. So I could not possibly go through the levels and unlock all the steps to get to where I want to be unless I took that first step, which was stepping out of my comfort zone. And it's a scary place to be, you know? A lot of people like to thrive and live in their comfort zone, and that was me for a while. I started getting comfortable, complacent, and my work ethic was still there, but I wasn't maximizing the output of my work ethic. And this was the third thing that I realized that kind of determined whether or not I was going to leave home or not. And when you have a goal in mind, right? And for me, it was a version of myself that I wanted to achieve and wanted to unlock. When you see that so clearly and you reverse engineer it and you see these steps so clearly on how to become that person, it's very easy to take that. It's a lot easier to take that first step, I should say. It's not easy. It's simple. It's not easy. And in fact, it's quite hard. You know, it's never easy leaving home, leaving family, leaving friends, leaving everything you know. But it's very important. So if you're in a similar situation where you feel like you're getting too comfortable or too complacent, or even if you feel stagnant, please remember that you're not stagnant, you're moving back. And if you want to keep moving forward, right, have that vision, have that goal in your head, reverse engineer it into small, simple steps. And it takes a lot of courage to do it. It takes a lot of self-reflection and honesty with yourself to be like, okay, this is where I'm fucking up. And if I want to stop this, I need to do this, this, and that, right? And so that's what I did. I took the leap of faith. I booked the tickets. And honestly, I didn't even have accommodation until 3 days prior, I think it was, to flying out. So that's another thing I want to mention, is that you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself and your ability to maneuver and navigate through difficult situations. It's a very important skill as well, being an entrepreneur or being someone who is trying to start a business, is running a business, is being able to be agile, right? Because all the time, this comes up, this problem, that problem, you know? And it's very, very important that you can think fast, think on your feet, and trust yourself. Trust that it's going to be okay, because it will, you know? And a lot of people were questioning me on my move over here to the Gold Coast. A lot of people were asking me, okay, like, what if you don't find accommodation? What if you don't find a job? What if you can't pull it off? What if your business doesn't start up? You know? And all these questions I had the same answer to. And that was simply, I trust myself. It's going to be okay. Because I know myself. And I know that no matter the problem that arises, I'm going to be able to work my way through it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Most of the time, problems are never easy to navigate, right? But I trust myself to come out on the other side and win. And that's also another important thing that I want you all to learn and understand, is that with the right framework in your mind and the right perspective on life, not much can go wrong, right? Because there was so many people before I moved asking me, about 100 different things that could go wrong. They were telling me all sorts that could go wrong. People could be this, combination might never come up. There's a housing crisis, all this stuff, right? Businesses are hard to start, What if you don't pull it off in time? So now you're gonna be stuck, and a bunch of crap, right? It's a bunch of crap, because the one thing that I understand for myself is, one, I trust myself, and two, I can't lose. Because let's play devil's advocate, right? Let's say shit hit the fan and everything that they said did happen and everything went wrong. I know no matter what happens, yeah, the worst case scenario, shit hits the fan, right? I fly back to Perth, and I reevaluate. But I've still grown as a person, I've still learnt lessons, and in fact, I've still moved further in my self-development and personal development than I would have in Perth. So it's like, hold on. You're telling me I can take the biggest risk of my life, right? Move out of my hometown from everyone and everything I know. And if everything bad happens and shit hits the fan, I have to move back home to reevaluate, I'm still further than where I would be if I was stayed in Perth. You can't lose with the right mindset. And once again, I'm not saying it'll be easy. I'm saying it'll be hard, but it's very simple. Okay? Just really get that into your head, right? With the right perspective of your situation in life, you can't lose, and it's only a winning game. Yeah? It's literally simply problem or opportunity. You have a problem, but there's always an opportunity hidden inside of a problem to either become a better version of yourself, make more money, help someone, whatever it is. There's always an opportunity in a problem. And yeah, it's important to know that. Very, very important to know that. So those are the reasons why I moved over. Was I needed to change my environment, and I knew if I move over being by myself, then I get to determine what my environment is. Back home, I didn't get to choose that. Environment, personal growth, risk taking, out of my comfort zone. I'm bound to win. I am bound to win. But I try to explain this to people, but not everyone understands, which is fine. And that's a part of the reason why I'm actually starting this YouTube channel, is because I couldn't do reels because I like to talk quite a bit. I can't convey what I'm trying to say and my points, what I'm trying to make in a reel, because it's just too short. So I was like, you know what, let's make a YouTube channel, and I can talk for 10-15 minutes, not that anyone's going to watch, but maybe one day I'll have a big following that can look back on this and be like, this is where you came from. It's possible. I hope to inspire people. I hope to change people's lives one day. It's one of my biggest goals in life, is to help as many people as I can. And that's a part of the reason why, another reason why I moved over to Gold Coast, because I was trying to do like mental health coaching and mentoring with mindsets. And as I was trying to do it, what I was realizing is that how can I teach people how to do this when I haven't experienced this kind of difficulty before? I am in my comfort zone trying to help people that are out of their comfort zones. How can I do that? You know, I have to experience it and go through it myself and prove to people that it is possible, that what I'm talking about is real, because I've done it. And this is what this whole year is for. Not only just financial success, but also mental success, emotional success, you know what I mean? Social success. Because on top of everything that I've said, I'm a very introverted guy. And I don't hate socializing, but if I don't want to socialize, I can't socialize. I'd rather be in a room on my laptop doing my work for like, you know, 10 to 14 hours. I love it. You know, I love being in this room, working, writing, reading, growing, you know. So I'm a very introverted person. And I hope this year brings me a lot of difficulty where I can grow into someone that is more social, right? For the exact reason why I'm doing any of this is so if I have audience that struggles with anxiety or social anxiety or, you know, anything, loneliness, they can look on this and be like, Harry also came from a place of anxiety, social anxiety, you know, loneliness, and he managed to pull himself out with no one, nothing, no help. So this is going to conclude this video. I'm going to be dropping some more, probably once a week, because I'm going to be real, I don't really know what to talk about, but I hope whatever I yap about helps someone, anyone, eventually. So, yeah, stay handsome, stay strong, and catch you guys in the next one.